So I want to tell you guys a story. A while ago, I was approached by this nonprofit company, and they were looking for a new CEO and executive director, and they've been trying for like 6 months to try and find somebody, and they just couldn't find anybody that they just didn't feel good about anybody. And so somehow they found out about me and gave me a call and asked me to come in, and at this point in my life, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, and so I was intrigued, so I went in, and they sold me on the mission of the nonprofit. It was really cool, and showed me everything that they've been able to do to help people all around the world, and it honestly was a really cool company. And so at the end of this interview, they've been asking me questions, and by the end, they said, do you have any questions for us? And like any good interviewer, right? I said, of course I have questions for you. And so they had told me kind of on like the vision and the mission and all these different things, but I was, just because of who I am and what I study, right? And what I had studied, I was really interested in what the back end of their company looked like. And so after a series of questions, I finally asked, and I'm talking to the CEO, the current CEO at this point. I said, so what does your marketing look like? And she said, honestly, we don't do any marketing. And I was like, you don't do any marketing? That's what? And it was especially shocking to me because they told me that year they had this goal to double the amount of participants that they had. And so I said, you don't do any marketing? She's like, yeah. Then I said, okay, how come? And she said, honestly, our systems couldn't handle it. And I said, what do you mean? She said, honestly, we burst at the seams. And I said, but your goal is to double the amount of participants you have. She's like, I know. She just kind of rolled her eyes and was like, I know. And so I was super intrigued and confused about why they had a goal to double their participants if they didn't have a system that could handle it. And so I asked her, I said, so what do you spend your time on? Because if they can't expand, I mean, something's wrong somewhere, right? So I was trying to figure out what was going on. And so I asked her, I said, so what does a typical day look like for you? What do you spend your time on? And she said, well, during busy season, I spend 85 to 90% of my time on payments. And I said, what are payments? And she's like, like getting payments from participants, paying the people that go with them, getting money for the supplies, paying the people in the country that help us. And in my mind, I was like, you spend 85 to 90% of your time on payments as the CEO of a company, of this organization? And I mean, honestly, she's so freaking smart. She's going to Oxford, right? But I was just like, well, no, duh. Like, no, duh, your systems can't, because how are you as the executive director doing payments? That doesn't make any sense, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. And I was just shocked to see that their systems, that their business had been built on these systems that were just, that gave them no possibility to expand. And really interestingly, so they offered me the job, which was nice, and I mean, it was really flattering, but it just wasn't what I was supposed to do. And so I turned it down, and interestingly, a few months later, I got approached by this company, this startup. It was being started by these two guys, super bright, worked at really cool businesses before, and they were going to leave their current positions to do this startup. And essentially, it was an app that was on the East Coast, and they wanted to bring it to the West. And they knew that I knew my marketing stuff, and so they were interested in working with me. And so they called me to this meeting. So just right before the meeting, I wasn't quite sure what they were going to propose or different things like that. So I made sure, I did like 25 minutes of homework, not a ton, but I knew their analytics, I knew what their competitors were doing, I saw the holes in their system, I saw the holes in the other person's system, enough that I could talk shop, and with their particular business. And so I go there and I start to present these really basic automation things, and they're like, they can't believe it, right? They're like, wow, or like, we never even noticed that, or oh my gosh, thank you for joining us, we would have been doomed, or wow, I can't believe our competitors are so bad at that, we should definitely capitalize on that. And I was like, yes, you should definitely capitalize on that, right? But it was fascinating to me. These men were so bright. They were so good at business. They were project managers. They were doing things at these amazing companies. But for whatever reason, building their business on these strategies of automation and systemization, especially for their sales, it wasn't even a concept for them. And it just helped me to realize that whether it was a nonprofit or a startup, or honestly whatever business you are, if you're not implementing automating strategies and whatever your conversions look like, your sales and your back-end marketing to help customers stay, you're not only one, leaving money on the table, two, you're essentially putting your company or your organization in a position where it will get stuck. It will get like that organization where all of a sudden you can't grow anymore because your systems are flawed. And I don't know. If you're not automating, what are you doing?